There's something funny about being human. We like to think we're logical, reasonable, that we judge things based on facts and experience. But the truth is, a lot of what we fear because we simply don't understand it. Not because it's dangerous, not because it's wrong, but because it feels different, foreign, out of our mental neighborhood. And this is where it gets tricky because most of us don't even see it happening. The less we understand something, the easier it is to either demonize it, mock it, or pretend it doesn't even exist. And the older we get, if we're not careful, that reflex can get even stronger. And it's not because we're getting set in our ways, like people love to say, but because unfamiliarity can start to feel personal, like it's threatening our sense of who we are or who we're supposed to be. Think about it. How many times have you heard someone make fun of something they don't actually understand? Like the coworker who scoffs at meditation, the relative who cracks jokes about people from a culture they've never even talked to, the person who rolls their eyes at woo-woo stuff without ever having a single real conversation about it. And it's not usually about facts. It's about fear. Fear dressed up in sarcasm or even avoidance. Because deep down, facing something unfamiliar requires something most people aren't taught how to do, which is stay curious without feeling threatened. And I'll tell you, for me, this really hit me at a time when I just really didn't understand goth culture at all. And I honestly wasn't trying to. It just felt really dark and withdrawn and really a little depressing to me. And I just couldn't wrap my head around why anyone would want to drown themselves. At least that's how it looked to me. In what felt like a sea of negative emotions and music and visuals. But over time, I actually ended up spending a lot of time around several people who were totally into it. You know how the universe just sends you what you need to learn at the time. So, two of these people were twin sisters who I learned later had been through a lot with their parents. And for them, goth wasn't about being dark at all, just for the sake of it. It was truly a way for them to find a little corner of comfort, like a language and a culture, and even personas that they could hide behind. And they were both beyond shy. And underneath all of that, heavy eyeliner and their dark clothes like I'm wearing today, and their demeanor, they were just scared, kind of rebellious teenagers. And that's something almost all of us have been at one point or another, even if we chose to wear different costumes for it. Then around that same time, there was someone else I met, and he was a grown adult, and he was totally into the goth world, and not so much the heavy makeup side of it. He was really about the clothes and the music and the whole attitude of it. And at first, it seemed like he was working really hard just to look misunderstood, to be misunderstood. Like he just really wanted you to know that he was different. But once you spent even 5 minutes with him, you realized he wasn't even trying to be scary or intimidating at all. He was just a kind soul, like something you would label as a human teddy bear who didn't always feel like he fit into the world around him. So he just built his own way of belonging. Experiences like that taught me something I will never forget. When I judge what I don't understand, I lose sight of the human being underneath. And the truth is, we all just want the same basic things: to be seen, to feel safe, to belong somewhere. But somewhere along the way, we all learn to judge first and then understand later, if at all. And if we're not careful, That habit of judging before understanding can get even stronger as we grow older. Now, let's talk about why that happens and why it matters. It's not because we're losing brain power, despite what every bad sitcom joke would have you believe. It's because we've built strong identities, and anything unfamiliar can feel like it's poking holes in what we think we know about ourselves. We have more to protect. After living through heartbreaks and setbacks and betrayals, we've earned our peace, and newness can sometimes feel like a threat to that peace. The world keeps changing faster. New technologies, new conversations, new social norms. Sometimes it feels like the world is sprinting while you're still bending over just trying to tie your shoes. So the temptation is to double down on what's familiar, to wrap ourselves tighter in the blanket of, I know what's right, and tune out anything that doesn't fit that. And honestly, it's understandable. It's human. But if we stay in that place too long, something sneaky happens. We don't just protect our peace, we shrink our world. And a smaller world means a smaller version of ourselves. And you're not here for that. None of us are. Here's the good news. Fear of the unfamiliar isn't a life sentence. It's a habit. And habits can be broken. It starts with noticing when you're reacting instead of responding. The quick snap judgment, the reflexive sarcasm, the desire to shut down or label something as ridiculous without ever sitting with it first. When you notice those moments, you get a choice. Do I double down on fear or do I stay open just a little longer? And no, staying open doesn't mean abandoning your values. It doesn't mean you have to agree with everything new you encounter. It doesn't mean you can't still think some things are bizarre, because frankly, some things are. It just means you give yourself the dignity of deciding after understanding, not before. It means you grow your ability to stand in your own identity, even when the world around you looks different than you expected. And every time you do that, you're not just keeping your mind flexible, you're keeping your spirit alive, because curiosity is life-giving. Rigid certainty, that's how people start dying while they're still breathing. Quick example from my own life is, for a long time, I didn't even know what the law of attraction was. And it wasn't that I was skeptical about it, I just wasn't aware it was a thing. So looking back, I realized I had moments where I was playing with the idea without even knowing it had a name. Sometimes I'd focus on something I wanted, and I'd notice small shifts along the way. Other times I'd get stuck in worry and everything felt heavier. When the law of attraction started becoming more mainstream, especially after the movie The Secret came out, I got curious and started experimenting with it. But honestly, it didn't work the way people made it sound. Everywhere you looked, it was vision boards and positive thinking. It's like if you just glued a few dream images to a poster and stayed cheerful enough, everything you wanted would show up at your door. And when it didn't happen like that, it wasn't because I wasn't positive enough or wanting it badly enough. It was because nobody was talking about the real foundation, your identity, your energy, your beliefs about what's possible for you. Once I started learning how it actually works, how your self-concept, your emotions, your energies shape what you experience, it just made sense. I didn't have to force myself to believe it. I was willing to apply it because I could feel the truth of it. And I was no longer in fear of it. Like, would it work? Would it not work? Was it real? Was it fake? I just simply stayed curious. I experimented with it in my real life, and little by little, I watched things start to shift. And it was not because I made a better vision board, trust me, but because I started becoming a better match for what I actually wanted. It wasn't about begging the universe. It was about aligning myself for the life I was asking for. And once I saw how much my own energy shaped my experience, it made me wonder what else might be possible if I stayed open instead of shutting down. So, does the fear of the unknown get worse as you get older? It can, if you let it. Or it can become one of the biggest growth opportunities of your life. Because every time you stay curious instead of judgmental, every time you listen before dismissing, every time you stretch instead of shrink, you're not just expanding your knowledge, you're expanding your capacity to live, to connect, to be fully, wildly, unapologetically alive, no matter how many candles are on your cake. If this resonated, like the video and subscribe. It helps this channel grow and helps more people realize they're not too late, too lost, or too old for a powerful next chapter. Thanks for hanging out. Next chapter's coming soon.